They say every man has a price. Mine was $5,000 a night. But if I knew what I'd have to do to get that money, I would have preferred to starve. I don't exactly know why I'm writing this now. Maybe because if something happens to me, someone needs to know I didn't just lose my mind alone. Or maybe it's just a way to keep my hands busy while I wait for the sun to rise. If it even rises today. A few weeks ago, I was at rock bottom. It wasn't just a rough patch. It was the end of the line. Rent was 2 months overdue, my credit card was maxed out, and the only thing louder than my stomach was the deafening silence of a phone that only rang for debt collectors. Desperation has a smell, and mine smelled like dust and unpaid bills. When you get to that point, the fear of hunger becomes bigger than the fear of the unknown. You start ignoring those internal alarms, the ones that scream, "Stop, this isn't normal." That's how I found the ad. It wasn't on any normal job site. It was on an obscure forum, one of those places that feel like the dark guts of the internet, accessible only through a broken link. The post was short, almost surgical, and strangely well written. Night security. Abandoned hospital. $5,000 per night. 5-night trial. Mandatory rules. Bonus at the end. I replied out of pure desperation. The answer came in seconds. No interview, no resume, just an address, a GPS coordinate that seemed wrong, and a PDF file titled The Protocol. The email had no sender, just a symbol that looked like a stylized eye. The hospital was 2 hours away from the city, on a back road that my GPS seemed to struggle to recognize. I had to turn off the navigator and follow only my gut. When I arrived, the building rose from the fog like a dying concrete giant. The name on the rusty sign was almost illegible. St. Jude Psychiatric Hospital. Broken windows looked like empty eyes watching me. The silence out there was heavy, as if nature itself was avoiding that place. There were no lights, except for my cars. At the front desk, I found a brown envelope with my name handwritten in elegant, old-fashioned script. Inside, a simple badge, a heavy, military-grade flashlight, and a yellowed sheet of paper folded many times, with 10 rules written in black ink. 1. Never answer the front desk phone after midnight. If it rings, ignore it. 2. At 2:30 a.m., you must go to room 32 and turn on the light. Do not look at the bed. 3. If you hear the walkie-talkie static, turn it off immediately. Do not try to listen to what's behind the noise. It is not for you. 4. Never enter the morgue, no matter what you hear inside. The smell is the least of your worries. 5. If you hear someone calling your name with a family member's voice, do not answer. It is not them. They are not here. 6. Keep your flashlight on at all times. The darkness here is hungry. It moves. 7. If the hallway lights start flickering in a steady rhythm, close your eyes and count to 30. Do not open them before. 8. Never look at reflections in the windows at night. What you see is not you. 9. Do not sleep. Under any circumstances. Sleep is the permission they need. 10. If any rule is broken, run to the main exit. Do not look back. The bonus is not worth your soul. I laughed. I thought it was an elaborate prank or some social experiment. But then I looked at my phone. A bank notification. $2,500 deposited. Half of the first night. The money was real. And the fear, it started to be real too. I turned on a flashlight and walked in. The iron gate slammed shut behind me with a clang that echoed through the entire lobby. The hospital at night is a labyrinth of unexplainable sounds. The metallic snap of cooling pipes, the wind howling through the vents, and something else. something that sounded like fingernails dragging on tiles, coming from upstairs. The air smelled of mold, dust, and something metallic, like dry blood. I started my patrol. The first floor was the administration wing. Scattered files, overturned chairs. The feeling of being watched was constant, but I tried to rationalize. It's my head. It's the fatigue. It's the money. At midnight sharp, the phone rang. The sound cut through the silence like a razor. I stared at the old device, the coiled cord vibrating with the insistence of the call. I remembered Rule 1. I let it ring 47 times. I counted. The sound was so loud I could feel the vibration in the floor. When it stopped, the silence that followed was even worse. It was an active silence, as if something was waiting. At 1:45 a.m., while I was on the second floor, the hallway lights started flickering. It wasn't a random flicker. It was a steady, almost hypnotic rhythm. I remembered Rule 7. I closed my eyes tightly and started counting. 29, 30. I opened my eyes. The lights had stopped flickering, but the door to room 212, which I was sure I had seen closed, was now ajar. A sliver of even deeper darkness. I walked past it. At 2:30 a.m., I went up to room 32. The hallway felt miles long. I entered the room, keeping my eyes fixed on the switch. I turned on the light. The room was small, with a rusty metal bed. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure sitting on the edge of the bed. A thin, hunched silhouette, head bowed. My instinct screamed at me to look, to check, but Rule 2 was clear. Do not look at the bed. I left and slammed the door. My hand was shaking so hard I almost dropped the flashlight. I returned to the front desk. The night ended. I survived. I spent the second day sleeping in my car, door locked. I was exhausted, but the fear kept me alert. I couldn't get the silhouette in room 32 out of my head. On the second night, things got more physical. The paranoia was palpable. The walkie-talkie on my belt started hissing at 1:15 a.m. It was an organic sound, like someone trying to breathe through water. I turned it off instantly, following Rule 3. But before I could switch it off, I swear I heard a word. A single, guttural word that seemed to come from a very, very deep place. Help. Later, while patrolling the second floor, I heard footsteps on the third. They weren't normal steps. They were slow, dragging, like someone limping or learning to walk again. I remember the unwritten rule, never go up. I went down to the first floor, but the feeling that something was following me was unbearable. I was in the treatment wing, where the walls were padded and torn. While waiting there, I heard my name. It wasn't a shout. It was a whisper coming from a dark hallway. John, it sounded exactly like my mother's voice. She died 3 years ago. The sound came from the end of the dark corridor. I felt tears in my eyes, but I gritted my teeth and kept walking. Rule 5, I didn't answer, but the whisper repeated, closer, more desperate. John, please, it's so cold down here. I ran back to the front desk. At 2:30 a.m., when I reached room 32, the door was ajar. The light was off. Still, I went in, turned it on, and left. But this time, the silhouette wasn't on the bed. It was standing, back to me, in the middle of the room. It was taller than I remembered, and the smell of ozone and rotting meat was much stronger. I walked out without looking back. 2 full nights. No rules broken. But the price was being paid in my sanity. Exhaustion is a dangerous drug. By the third night, my mind was shattered. Fatigue makes you question reality. It makes you arrogant. I started thinking that maybe it was all an exaggeration, a well-staged game to scare me. At 1:50 a.m., I sat in the front desk chair. I was almost asleep. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. I stared at it. Rule 1 was clear. Do not answer the phone after midnight. But what would happen if I did? Would it be the end of the game? I was tired of being a rat in a maze. Just this once, I thought, just to see what happens, I can handle it. I answered. Hello. Silence. Then a deep breath on the other end. A wet sound like something drowning. And a voice that didn't seem to come from a place. It seemed to come from inside my head. A voice that was the sum of all the whispers I had ignored. You broke the protocol. The call dropped. The hospital lights didn't just flicker. They exploded in a shower of sparks. The radio turned on by itself at a deafening volume, emitting a human scream that seemed endless. I looked at the clock. 2:29 a.m. I ran to room 32, but the hospital had changed. Corridors seemed longer. Doors appeared where there were none before. The walls seemed to be sweating a dark liquid, and the smell of ozone and rotting meat was unbearable. I passed the east wing without realizing it and looked out the window. There were things outside, standing, watching, waiting. When I reached room 32, the door was wide open. Dark inside. The light wouldn't turn on. Then something came out of the room. Too tall, too thin, dressed like a patient in a torn straitjacket. It smiled, with too many teeth. That's when I ran. Rule 10, run to the main exit. Do not look back. I heard the footsteps behind me. They weren't human footsteps. They were heavy, rhythmic thuds, as if something was jumping off the walls. I could feel the cold breath on the back of my neck. I jumped through the glass door of the lobby seconds before something grabbed my jacket. I rolled onto the cold asphalt of the parking lot and got into my car, flooring it without even looking in the rearview mirror. Today, I'm in a cheap hotel 3 states away. The money hit my account. The full $25,000 plus the bonus. But I can't sleep, because every time I close my eyes, I hear a phone ringing. And last night, when I looked at the reflection in the hotel window, I saw a thin silhouette standing in the corner of the room, waiting for me to turn off the light. I got the money, but I can't spend it, because I know the bonus wasn't the money. The bonus was the permission for whatever was in that hospital to follow me. I didn't just break one rule. I broke the only rule that mattered. I shouldn't have answered. I got the money, but I don't think I ever really left that hospital. If you survived this story, subscribe for the next one.